and then he sold out and he moved to the States. He came to Canada first.
Okay.
And he didn't find that he had what he wanted in Canada. So
right.
He went to the States, but he kept coming back to Canada to offer courses and stuff.
Well, we are live and rolling. I'm going to let people show up both here in person and online.
Two more coming here.
Some more people showing up, yeah.
Would you have enough chairs? Or?
I might have to grab some more.
She's got,
some people remember to bring their own, so. I think I can see comments on here.
Hey. Let me take my face. Hi.
I'm Karen.
Karen, I'm Val.
Hi, Val. Nice to meet you.
You too.
Val. Hi.
Karen.
Oh,
Nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you.
Oh, it's just yesterday.
I know, but.
And that's Paul.
Hi, Paul. There it is. Fancy light.
How's it going?
Good, how are you?
Good. Good. People are still logging in.
Most people are just joining online.
Yeah, whenever I do these online, I don't know what it is. People get lazy and just log in online or something.
It's nice to see you.
And then, of course, there are people who
Right?
Yeah.
are abroad.
Is there a garbage here?
No, but there is one underneath. You know what? I'll,
Migrate.
that's fine.
Stems.
It's fine. That's
Thank
fine.
you.
There are no germs.
It's hard. It's
No,
hard
I'm not worried about germs. Oh,
Are you kidding me?
I'll do that.
And then I think,
I think I'm isolated for too long.
All right, so I just want to make sure that people can hear me all right. I've got the microphone set up, and I'm going to be staying fairly close. People are going to be logging in here over the next couple minutes. Well, I'll just be hanging out until then. If you have any comments, anything that you have questions about, hey, Mom. If you have any questions about anything, feel free to start commenting. I'm going to be dealing with a lot of questions today. We're going to be diving into if you haven't seen the other videos, they are on my YouTube channel. Encourage you to go check it out. And we're going to be talking a little bit today about gold, silver, and real estate, but primarily we're going to be talking about decentralized financial systems. If you can't hear me or something is wrong, just go ahead and comment. Let me know. If you can hear me and everything sounds good, let me know. That'd be great too. We're streaming also on Twitter and also on Twitch. If you are on there watching, definitely I won't be able to catch your comments. Apparently that's not something that happens. It's just YouTube that works really well. I do have my Twitter open, so if you wanted to ask questions by tweeting, definitely just tag me. And my handle is Paul Colossus. And I do believe, that looks kind of weird, doesn't it? Come on, adjust the light. It's weird, eh? It's kind of weird lighting on that. There we go. And yeah, on Twitter, I'll just put my Twitter handle. And you can go and just comment on there. Make sure you tag me. Oh, and I do see that Twitch does work, so it should work actually. Twitch comments should probably work.
Has a few rounds of people go through that we can start like some kind of community where we
have like seminars or something to like.
Why is silver not shooting up? That's because the markets are continuing to be manipulated. The largest financial institutions, they have been suppressing the price for a long time. It would be the price of gold, but it is, it just isn't, because the price is manipulated constantly. Good question, though.
But lots of years ago, right? So I just thought it would be good to do a refresher, you know.
Refreshing inside this community. That's what it's like.
I'm trying to find out where that actual link for this live stream is. If I maybe go to my other profile
Are you
and look at my profile from there, maybe? Yes, I can see it there. Okay, cool.
I filled it out today.
I'm gonna retweet that.
Amanda, hello. Nice to meet you, because.
Oh, and now I can see the comment feed. Perfect. Awesome.
If you want to do it, I'm on your side anything.
So I can see 2 feeds of comments, one from Twitter, and then, or actually 3. I can see YouTube and Twitch, and then Twitter all in one screen. Awesome. Good news. Come on in. Yeah, wonderful. Wonderful.
Okay. I just hope you listen.
There we go.
I was just in to see them.
Oh, perfect.
Right?
Yeah, of course. Yeah, help yourself. Help yourself.
And it's super.
Up in the corner over there.
Yes.
Got people who drove all the way from Calgary to be here.
Really? Oh, wow.
Yeah, this is Jacqueline, everyone.
Hi, Jack. I'm Karen.
Awesome.
Yeah.
I mean, Paul's worth it, I'm sure.
Oh, I appreciate that. Thank you. Got 6 people online now. It is 5 minutes after 6, so we're gonna get started. More people will probably be coming on. We've got another 3 people on Twitter, and I don't see the Twitch stats on here, but that's fine. All right. What a crazy week. 2 weeks, actually. In fact, about 2 weeks ago, I was telling people, quick, get out of the stock market. Because I think that we won't see the end of February before the next crash. And I was wrong. I was very much wrong on that one. The reason why I said that, though, is because we had, and I say we, myself and my network, we were paying attention to what was going on long before all of this. I was really into it in like 2011, 2008, the end of leading up to the end of 2008, I kind of knew something was weird, wrong. And then when the 2008 crash happened, I was like, okay, yeah, so I was right. Something was wrong. I just didn't know how to identify it. So I started learning. And by 2011, I had surrounded myself with some people that knew what they were talking about. And as a result, there were probably about 3 or 4 months where I didn't sleep because I was so enthralled and enraged at the fraud that the money system was, the entire monetary system. And it is so bad that they honestly break all the rules that they have for us when it comes to monetary system. So yeah, that is, let me put it to you this way. The reason, you know why the government doesn't want you to print money? Like to do like money printing in your basement? It's not because it's a bad idea. In fact, they do it all the time.
Can't keep track of it? Competition?
Can't keep track of that's a good one. Yeah.
They don't like competition?
They don't like competition. That's what it boils down to. They don't like competition. They're allowed to do it. You're not allowed to do it. But that's what tyranny is. Tyranny by definition is when there's a class of people or even one person that can do things that the public cannot. That's called tyranny. And it doesn't matter what that looks. Some people associate automatically tyranny must be like a warlord that stomps on the skulls of his enemies across the land. No, I mean, that's tyranny too. Because obviously no one else would be allowed to do that. He'd shoot them, right? But that is the definition from a very basic standpoint. And then that's to ask, like, how long has this been going on? How long has the tyranny been going on? Obviously, we lived in a really nice spot, and we still do. I mean, when we take into consideration where else we could have been born, we hit the jackpot. Like, we literally did land a lottery when it came to where we ended up being born and living here, right? We did really damn good. But when did the tyranny start? Because it happens in stages, it happens in degrees. Does anybody know when it started?
When banking became central banking system.
Yeah, basically the Federal Reserve was the big nail in the coffin.
Which they got rid of like 2-3 times in the States, and it's always seemed to come back like it.
No, they don't. They've never gotten rid of it.
No.
They've never gotten rid of it. They have raised their debt ceiling.
The Federal Reserve is run by the central banking system. It's not actually like
Actually, it's run.
It's not run by a government entity, I guess is what I'm trying to say.
There are six owners that we don't know who they are,
Thank you.
and it's a it's a
So when
private
it's called
corporation.
a Fed inside the United States, people believe it's a government.
It must be
entity.
it must be governmental
And it's not.
because it's called the Fed, right?
Yeah, and they've
I know.
never been investigated or
Audited.
audited.
That's right.
Yeah.
They don't have to be.
No. When you make the rules, you're above the rules.
Well, and therein lies where maritime law comes from. Maritime law actually comes from the financial system. It doesn't come from us. It comes from the financial system. And that's why you have to follow their rules, because they subverted the actual law system. They have a legal system, and then there's a law system. But we won't really get into that today. But since that time, the tyranny has shown up, and the effect on us has been the gradual decline of our purchasing power. Every time, you hear about this thing called inflation.
Just inflation.
Yeah. Just inflation. That inflation's been around for a long time. We hear it all the time, right? Oh, it's a 2% inflation rate, 3% inflation rate. This is amazing. This is
That is
great.
de-evaluation of your dollar.
And so
Hidden tax.
and so if the reason why that term occurs is because it's a fancy, it's a word used by us, right? So we believe that it must be good since these smart people on TV say that, our economy's healthy because we had a 2% and 3% inflation. 4%, that's starting to get a little bit up there. We got to throttle things back a little bit to bring it back underneath. And they want to have power over that, because if it goes too fast, then you'll notice it when you go to the grocery store, right? So they gotta throttle it. Make sure it's nice and gradual. Like that boiling pot and the frog. Don't want you to know about it, but if you take a look at power, you can go ahead online. If I had, I have people doing this for me, but you can pull it up on the screen. You can just Google the purchasing power or the price index for the US dollar or even the Canadian dollar. And you can see what the purchasing power has done over the last, 100 years. It's just plummeted to the point now where 1 cent can't buy what a dollar bought back then, right? Or other way around that. $1 today can't buy what 1 cent bought, 100 years ago. And if people actually called it for what it was and said, yeah, that's actually theft, because they control your means of trade, right? So you go ahead and work your butt off last year and say you made, just for ease of numbers, $100,000 last year, and you had that $100,000 in the bank on December 31st, 2020, you would not be able to purchase nearly as much as you could. You 21, you're able to purchase nearly what you could have on the year prior. And it's because the purchasing power is being, and they called in by its theft, people would be pretty upset, right? So they call it inflation, and they think it's a great thing. Everybody thinks it's a great thing. But alas, it's like this term, mass formation psychosis, right? We hear about it lots nowadays. It's been going on a long time. I put a tweet, I don't know, probably, I think it was in December sometime. And at the time it was like 7,000 days or something like that since September 12th, 2001. And I posted on Twitter, I was like, I'm so glad that all kinds of people are talking about and know what mass formation psychosis is. But what they don't know is that it's been going on for 7,400 days, you know, referencing back to September 12th. And arguably even longer than that, because people think inflation's good. And you go and you get your annual raise from your employer, and that's great because it means that the economy's healthier. No, it actually means the economy sucks. If you have a healthy economy, things get cheaper. Why? Does anybody know why? Like naturally, a healthy economy is actually going to have almost like it's naturally going to deflate. And people think, oh, that's bad, but why is that? Competition, that's a good one. Yeah, there's actually a really, it drives even, so competition is a contributing factor to the real reason why a natural economy deflates and things, and your purchasing power increases. Does anybody know what it is?
I say growth, but
Growth, yeah. Well, it's related, but there's an underlying thing that happens that makes things cheaper all the time, that we are able to get more in a natural setting.
Would be something called economies of scale?
No, not really. Not really. I'll just give it to you. It wasn't like I was testing you guys. It's actually innovation. We are always driven to do things more efficiently. And so we innovate. We find another way to do things that makes it better quality for the same price or even less sometimes. Whenever we make a discovery in energy efficiency, it drops the cost on everything for an employer or for a manufacturer. And then that is, that's the natural, things actually drop in price because we're innovative. Unless there's a central bank that controls the value of it. And the reason they do that is because they know beyond a shadow of a doubt that if they can make it super easy for you to make a quick exchange at the grocery store, you'll use that super easy quick exchange mechanism way better than having to have stockpiles of silver back at home or at the safety deposit box, right? Because that's actually real money. Gold and silver is real money, and everything else is fiat. And fiat literally means fake. It doesn't have value. In fact, I don't have my wallet. Does anybody have a bill? Just like a 5 or 10, 20, something like that? I'm not going to steal it, I promise. I'm not going to steal it. Perfect, I got it, thank you. I'll give it right back. This right here is just a couple molecules different than a margarine container. Okay, that's it. That's the value of this. But why is it that we can take this piece of plastic, now there's some real money.
I got real money.
So why is it that this piece of plastic allows you to go buy a box of cereal or two?
Because they say it's a value.
No, that's not why. You're on the right track, but that's not the real reason why you're able to go and take this to Safeway just down there at Capilano. Take this to Safeway and go get 2 boxes of Rice Krispies.
Everybody believes it's worth
It's belief, exactly. We got convinced, and let's just call that for what it is. Just like inflation, we need to call things for what they are. That's called theft.
Yeah.
We didn't get convinced. What's the real word?
Manipulated.
Manipulated? Yeah,
Lied to.
bamboozled.
Well,
We got bamboozled into believing that that's worth $10.
Yeah.
But it isn't. It isn't. But gold and silver, that's actually worth something. Why? Because it doesn't matter where you go on the planet, and it doesn't matter where you go in time, the purchasing power has relatively stayed the same, except for about the last 30, 40 years. Question that why is silver not shooting up? Being manipulated. There's absolutely nothing true about our markets right now. It's crazy because you can actually go, this is the one time, you know how the mainstream media lies all the time? We know this, right? Just lies and lies and lies. That's what they do. That's actually their job. You get hired based on the ability, you get hired based on how low your integrity is. And I actually have, there's a saying that I have, and that is a mainstream journalist has about the same moral value in society. Has the moral value in society just below a politician, right above child trafficker. Right? That's where journalists, mainstream journalists, kind of land on the spectrum. Okay. But what's crazy is that you actually, if you're into trading, you actually want to follow the news. And the reason why is because mass formation psychosis. Everybody believes it's true. And so then that affects the prices, right? And so they're actually manipulating the prices in order to make sure that they keep their coffers nice and full. No different than what they've done with gold and silver. See, what they've done is that they invented this thing called paper contracts. So you can actually go onto the stock market, purchase gold and silver, but it's just a piece of paper saying purchase some gold and silver. But here's the thing. For every ounce of silver that has, or for every ounce of gold rather, that has been mined and is above ground and minted and ready to go for purchase, 300 people think they own it. Wait a second, this reminds me of something from the early 1900s. There was a dude that went to jail for a long time for doing it. Do you remember what that was?
Ponzi schemes.
Ponzi schemes. Yep. Remember how I said tyranny is when there's a class of people that can do something the public can't?
Right, there it is.
That's when it started. When they started the Ponzi scheme known as the monetary system. All you had to do was just keep the silver dollar. Back in the day, you could crisp out one of those pieces of paper, the greenback from the States. Before the Federal Reserve, it looked and felt the same as after the Federal Reserve came forward. And when the Federal Reserve came forward and they brought out the greenback, it said Federal Reserve note along the bottom of the dollar bill. Do you know what it said before?
US dollar.
$1 silver dollar. Yeah. And it meant that you could go to any bank and put it on the counter, and they had to, by law, provide you with a silver round that was worth $1. So it was actually worth what it said it was on the piece of paper. And the reason they did that was because paper was way idea that we have to have little pouches of change everywhere, right? But we didn't actually evolve that much, did we? Because we ended up destroying the currency again, just like the Romans did. Do you guys know how Rome fell? No, Rome fell because what they did was that they took their gold in bronze and copper in gold, so that they didn't have to have as much gold to provide a currency for the people. And it got to the point where they were, man, we can just keep doing this and we can buy bigger armies. We can just keep on diluting the gold. What would that be the equivalent of today?
Printing money.
Printing money. Printing money just dilutes the economy. Because if you have an economy, let's say this store represents the economy of Canada, okay? And there's, I don't know, say there's $40,000, $50,000 worth of stuff in here, okay? if we just print, and that 50,000 is all there is in Canada, but if we just say, oh, here's another $1,000, we just increased the money supply by 2%, right? We just added $1,000 saying, yeah, now it's worth $51,000, not 50. We just added 2% to the economy, the money supply. Did that change the value of the clothing in here, the merchandise? No. So that's what Rome did. They went ahead and started diluting their gold with bronze and copper from all the, because they started really expanding too far, and they couldn't afford their military, especially when they were doing international trading and stuff like that. They're like, man, we're running out of gold here. So they melted in bronze and copper. Now what happened, that wasn't the fall. But here's the thing. We talked about why is it that $10 can go and get you 2 boxes of Rice Krispies. It's because of the faith that people have that it's actually worth that. It's the only thing. And you think about it, that belief now especially is hanging by a thread. Well, the same thing happened in Rome. People believed to buy a suit, which consequently is still a good suit today. Like an ounce of gold is worth a good suit. Funny, right? Gold and silver didn't ever experience inflation. It stayed constant the whole time. But that's what they do. A centurion could dress himself very, very well, even with some plates of armor, for an ounce of gold back then. And so when he pulled out an ounce of gold, it was worth, and everybody knew it. Everybody knew it. Even though there was bronze and some copper melted in there, everybody knew that was gold. So it was worth its weight in gold, right? So you could literally go and trade around. But what happened was that the dilution became so severe over time, nobody even realized it happened. Man, where did that happen? Something happened like that recently. But people don't know history, and so because they don't know history, they're doomed to repeat it. So they go ahead and Romans would, because the country's so wealthy and they expanded the empire so far, they started going to some of the other outlying areas that they had conquered to go and see these great cultures that they had conquered and brought into the fold. So you'd have this Roman go and travel, weeks to go and buy something that from this foreign land like Babylon. And he'd whip out his coins and he'd put it on the table and in the past be able to buy whatever he wanted because everybody knew that that's what that was. That was worth its weight in gold. But what happened one day is that a merchant on the far out reaches of the empire would say, actually, I question that piece of gold. Why is that? Well, because while you've been listening to CNN about how great your country is, we, on the other hand, have our own media, and we know the truth about your country and how you invaded us and you took our copper mines. And you're using that copper and melting it into the gold that you're now handing to me. And I can even test it out. That's how it started. Now, it didn't just suddenly collapse, right? But over a period of about 100 years, oh my God, over a period of 100 years. See, every time people get involved with a money system, they mess it up within 100 years. They always do. So over a period of 100 years, that faith destroyed itself and Rome fell. The great empire of Rome got diminished to virtually nothing. A city. That's it. And the only reason it didn't actually die, I believe, is probably the Vatican. I can see Twitter is paused. Let me try to reload it here, to see if it's still running. It is. Okay. Why would you think they would ever go higher? Oh, that was 23 minutes ago. I'm sorry, I missed that. Why would I think they would ever go higher? So they will go higher when the people no longer subscribe to the fake monetary system. And by subscribe, I mean be a user, right? You subscribe to your cell phone provider, right? And if has anyone ever switched cell phone providers because of sucky service or bad customer service, or maybe it was just a better deal, right? Yeah, we've all done that. That $10 bill is a product. That's all it is. It's a product. Someone's product. Someone invented that for you to use. Do you know who the inventor was?
No, they make them in Australia.
Yeah, they're in Australia. It's the banks. The banks have the currency. Did anybody see my talk about maritime language? No? I'll go through it real quick. So we have this beautiful language that we call English, and the words that we end up using are powerful in how it forms our psyche. So we have, does anybody picture a river, okay? Picture a great big river. What guides the flow of the water?
Thanks.
The banks, right. And that's what, and the banks of the river actually control the flow of what? Currency. Yeah. Currency. You're all washed up, right?
For underwater.
Yeah, or you're drowning in debt. Yeah, underwater. And if maybe someone can help you bail you out.
Or even worse, a bail in.
Yeah, or a bail in. So this is the situation. We're in this world of trickery. You better follow the mainstream. Don't rock the boat. Of deception. You don't have to write this down, but definitely remember it. The definition of evil. Does anyone know it? The definition of evil. Oh, wait a second. Oh, yeah. Definition of evil. Deception perfected.
Yeah.
Had to think about it for a second. I knew it off the top of my head when I first said it, but then had to think about it again. So it's just another product. Someone else came up with this idea that we need to have this means of currency to direct the flow of money, right? And all we're waiting for now at this point is enough people to unsubscribe. Every time you go to the grocery store, every time you go to pay your phone bill, oh my goodness, double burp. Every time you go to church and put some money in the collection plate, you are subscribing to their product. You're endorsing its use. That's why we also have that term endorsement. Have a check. Why, if the product is so much, should we continue using it? The only reason we do,
there's going to be more control if we don't.
if we don't use it,
Well, I'm just thinking of when they want to put chips.
right?
You know what I mean? Like
Yep.
that whole thing.
Yeah.
I don't want them to know everything I do
No, of
and
course.
where I go and
Yep.
control me,
Mm-hmm.
right? And know everything about me.
Right. Yeah. No, and
That
that's
scares
exactly
me.
what they want.
Yeah.
And what people don't realize is that every time you click yes to the terms and conditions, when you're allowing them to have more knowledge of you every single time. Now, I do it. Why? Because I want to make sure that I'm staying in communication with the people that I know and love. But then there are apps that you can get that actually encrypt your messages and encrypt your phone conversations so that it doesn't it doesn't go past into the realm of surveillance.
Which apps would those be?
My favorite one that's for ease of use is Wire, W-I-R-E. And in fact, I like it so much, I'm probably going to subscribe to it here. I'm just doing a trial, the enterprise version, but you can get it for free as an individual user, and it's really good. I've had long conversations, long phone. Today, I had an hour-long phone conversation with someone that was just learning about cryptos, and the call was great, nice and clear, no drops. I know it's secure. We talked about things that I would never say on YouTube. Yeah.
So is it calls and text messages?
Yep, calls, text messages, voice conference, you name it. And if you get to the enterprise level, you can start building teams of people together and have group chats, like big group chats. Yeah.
And it's just for the phone? Could you use it for a computer as well?
It is also available on your computer. Yep. So I like it. There's another option, and that is text only, but it's like another layer of security, even higher than Wire. And it is like, it's obscene how much security it is. You want to start, if you and I want to start a chat, that chat is called a session. And that session has one key. And when that's done, that session is deleted. And that's it. And the only way someone could watch is if they have that same key that you and I have. So it becomes even higher privacy. But anyways, that's not really what I wanted to talk about today. But yeah, there are some good options. And I would say probably within the next couple of years, we're going to start to see a huge emergence of blockchain phones. So now the entire phone itself is encrypted. So right now, if you are, say for instance, you are texting someone on your phones, like actual text, okay, not through Wire or Telegram or any of those other ones, but you're actually texting someone, and you know how many times you've done it where it's like, especially when you're angry, and then you're like, no, I better not say that. They saw all that. They saw all the thing that you typed that you didn't actually send. The keyboard itself is sending messages. It's recording your actions. I remember, yeah, well, I'm not going to get into that. They track everything, okay? And here's evidence. I have direct personal evidence that even when your phone is, it's on, on standby or whatever, not off, like if switched off, might even work that way too. But on standby, in my pocket or in the console car or whatever. This was in 2017. I was actually riding in the car with my girlfriend at the time, and the windshield wiper went, right? And we all heard that. It's like, really, oh my God, that sounds terrible. We need to get some new wipers. We didn't say anything. Just, and it was later in the day, probably 2 hours later, I went onto Facebook, and the first ad to scroll up was Canadian Tire for windshield wipers. He didn't even say anything in the car. It was just the sound of the windshield wipers got recognized. Do you remember when there was the shooting in New Zealand at the mosque? That was about, what, 2018, I think? 2017, maybe? No, it was actually later. It was 2019, I think. I'm trying to remember where I was at the time. And I remember instantly thinking to myself, because what they found out that he had messages. He had messages with other people on Facebook Messenger, saying what he was going to do and stuff like that. So there was people knew about this thing before it actually happened. But I remember asking, I want you to just imagine for a second that there was, I know that this isn't how God works, but just play with this situation for a second. Let's say, for instance, God is able to hear everything that we say and do and everything. He is. But just imagine, like almost like a demi do that. Watch and hear, listen, and track everything that you do. And that demigod is actually charged with and has the capability of intervening on mankind whenever something really bad happens. Because that demigod has knowledge of all these things happening, right? And then something happens. And the people turn, you would think that if everybody knows about this demigod, right? Everybody knows about him. You would think that when something tragic happens and hundreds of people lose explosive vices, tearing through bodies, dismembering people, and cracking skulls and all the rest, the destruction, the horror of that could have been avoided had that demigod stepped in, right? But he didn't. What do you think the people, because everybody knows that demigod can do that, what do you think how do you think the people would respond and react, or even respond to such a demigod? I mean, people do it all the time with God himself. How could he let this happen, right? Well, if Facebook is listening to that degree, they are a demigod in that sense. And they did nothing, right? Now, that's more of a kind of a crazy argument to make, but it's true. I mean, they are watching everything. They really are. It's getting chilly, isn't it? Let me get the heat up. Hang on a second.
Sorry about that.
I don't think about these things.
I'm over my mittens. Next, I'm over my mittens. I was cold the last one.
Still okay.
But you
As I said, I could not take that course as a small sweater, slippers,
Yeah, slippers.
slippers for sure.
It would need a coat.
I was kind of wondering.
I don't mind the rest of my feet.
Yeah.
If I would have shoes on.
Yeah.
Fine.
Okay.
Yeah.
So then the next thing, obviously, that
Yeah.
was mentioned was, we just don't want people to see what's happening. And yes, that's exactly where they are going. The Great Reset was a long time coming. In fact, before COVID was even a word, we knew what this virus in China was going to do, what it was for. We knew that it wasn't from a bat. We knew that it was also not harmful, that the number of people that were going to die from this was no different than what people die from the flu every single year, usually with the same complications and comorbidities. We knew that. And the numbers matched our models. There was the scientific model that said that all of these people were going to die, and they didn't. And we knew that. We knew that that wasn't going to happen. We didn't even need models. We just knew that this is what they do. This is how they roll. Probably shouldn't have said that on YouTube. I already got 2 strikes against my account. So anyways, tomorrow you'll see me on Freedom Store be like, yeah, okay, so this is my new YouTube channel, everybody. Yeah. If only I could stream to Rumble. You hear me, Rumble? Or you probably don't have access to YouTube algorithms listening. Anyway, that's where they're going. That's what they want. They want to have complete control. And the money was just the thing that they did before in order to have that control. Now It's every aspect of your life that they want to be able to have control of. And they can do it. The technology's there. And they've been working on it for about 30 years to make sure that today they win. Now, this brings us to today. About the stock market crash that was supposed to happen by the end of February. Because I knew in 2020, February 2020, the beginning of February 2020, I was going to my closest friends at the time. I didn't have a community like this. I just had my closest friends. And I was going to their homes, visiting them like an insurance broker. Going to their homes and sitting at their kitchen tables and laying out the facts, saying, you are not going to want to be in the stock market over the next 30 days. I said that at the beginning of February. February 21st was the crash. And I remember leading up to that, I was like, okay, so it's going to happen here any day. Now we have to start counting when's the real one, because this is just going to be the blip, right? And so I said 18 to 24 months is how it's always occurred in the past. And it's always occurred high, right? So we just kept on pushing that high throughout 2021, or even 2020 somewhat, right? But 2021, we pushed that high so hard. And I thought for sure, man, it's any day now, any day now, any day now. But I didn't say anything until the beginning of February, when I was actually posting charts and being like, look at these 4 charts. They're all lined up perfectly. This is actually 80 times worse. The charts are showing 80 times the pressure that we saw in 1929. Okay, and that's 80 times based on the inflation that we should have had. But I mean, take a look at the last year of inflation, which is like 40, 50%. The energy is just through the roof. You're going to want to get out of the stock market. And I was wrong. Does anyone know why?
People are still putting their money in it, do they still believe in it?
Because they still believe in it. Yes, totally. Now, why do they believe? 3 letters.
Okay.
We do some charades. Yeah. Okay.
Driving. War.
Yes. War always props up an economy because of all the manufacturing that needs to happen. You've got weapons deals that need to be done, all this stuff.
Is that why they're pushing Ukraine to make it sound like it's so big?
Because the bankers said, uh-oh, Trudeau, you fucked up. You should not have touched people's money. And now we don't have liquidity. Oh, and simultaneously, Moderna stock dropped 25% in one day. Simultaneously, the stock market did a big dip, which is the day that I took those screenshots on and put them all on my social media. Because the stock market dropped. We need money and we need it now. But guess who else needed money? The media. Why is that? Because COVID just wasn't cutting it anymore. What does that tell you? People were waking up, right?
Yeah.
Nope. Because I'll say 90% of the freedom fighters that were in our circles, like we were tight. 90% of them believe that Russia is invading Ukraine. Yeah.
Why?
Because they refuse to wake up that much. They're awake like this much. They have a long ways to go. And yes, about 90% of the freedom fighters, even though they said for 2, 3, 5 years, the media's lying. Now all of a sudden the media is telling the truth about Ukraine. It's the cognitive dissonance is not just a leftist thing. Do you want to know what it is? The reason why it's not just a left thing, right? And we typically think, it's the right wingers that are more objective, and they're more concrete in their thinking, and they understand the morality of someone telling someone else how to live their life is probably pretty low, so they have more sense about them, right? No, right wingers are just as bad. They are, especially when it comes to war, because the right wingers are all about protect the nation. We gotta stop the bad guys. But literally, you know what's going on right now? This is how ridiculous it is. We're going around voting, right? We're saying, oh, we want these guys to win. Let's give them these guys the vote. Go around. No, we want these guys now. Because that whole scenario is no different than back in the day. And we were being bullied on the playground. And one day, a bully says, hold up, we got to get some law and order to this here playground so that I get my time on the swing. Let's all just make sure that the people, all the kids, they get to choose who bullies them. Then it won't be bullying anymore. So we'll get everybody together, and you can pick Dustin, or you can pick Omar, or you can pick. I gotta remember to use multi-ethnical names. Ethnic names. You can pick Sam, or you can pick Tweedledee and Tweedledum. Trudeau is Tweedledee. And everyone goes, oh my goodness, what a great idea. This is how a playground should be run. Put a pin in that for a second. Christians? Anybody Christian here? No Christians? Yeah. What are we told as Christians? I was told this growing up as a Christian. We pray for our leaders, right? Because God placed them there. Do you remember, especially if you grew up with Christianity, do you remember what God said to his people when they asked him for a king? Do you remember? Not really. That's okay. That's okay. God said, I don't want you to have a king. I want you to be self-governing. I don't want you to have someone telling you how to live your life. That's not how I designed you. I actually hate that. That's one of the reasons why I brought on flood, is because people have this obsession with being in charge of someone else. And it's disgusting. I hate it. So then Samuel went back to the people and said, okay, well, and the people, God's children, said, no. We want this. We know what we want. So Samuel went back to God and said, I don't know what to do. They really want a king. But God, in his loving mercy, knew that we had, what did we have that he honored above all things? God honored this about his creation. What was it? He said, okay, but I can tell you, it's not going to be good, because here's what's going to happen, okay? You're going to get a king. He's going to get power hungry, and he's going to start demanding your goats in your fields. He's going to start demanding that you pay him homage. And that if you don't, you're going to be a criminal. And I don't want this for you, but since that's what you want, I'm just letting you know that because that's what you want, you're going to get what every other nation that is not my children, you're going to get what every other nation gets as a result. And the people said, yay! And the Christians told us to pray for our leaders. I didn't think I was going to get into this, but it's important because people need to get this. There is absolutely no one. You know what? I'm not gonna make that declaration. I'm gonna ask you some questions. Can you think of anybody that has the moral authority to tell you what to do? No? And that's pretty basic, right? We can all kind of get that. I did this in a room of about 250 people randomly once at a network marketing meeting. Okay? So you think I'm off topic now? Just was doing that meeting. I've asked that room. I said, do you know of anybody that has the moral authority to tell you how to live your life? And of course, everybody said no. And I said, okay, well, let me ask this though. What if there's a group of people? Say, for instance, in this room right here, we've got six people and myself, so that's 7 of us. Okay, if 4 of us agree that, sorry, what's your name again? Let's say Tammy should be in charge of, and sorry, your name? Manda. Tammy should be in charge of Manda, and 4 of us agree that Tammy should be in charge of Manda. Even though you just said Manda doesn't have the moral authority to tell you how to live your life, because 4 of us got together and said that Tammy should, does she now have the moral authority to tell you what to do? No. How is that possible? We all voted and agreed. That's democracy. You're saying that even though a group of us said and agreed and even put a stamp on a piece of paper with ink, and at the top of that piece of paper it says the government of Canada, you're telling me that she still doesn't have the moral authority to tell you what to do with your life? Okay, well, what if it's a larger group of people? Maybe it's not just us, because this is a pretty small group. Let's say 30 million people. People are saying, sorry about that. Is it still acting up? Let me know. I might stop the stream to Twitter because I see it's paused and I have 0 viewers anyways. And then that might divert some more save changes. Okay, maybe that will help. Let me know if that's still acting up for you. Okay, so let's say we get 30 million people all together, okay? And we organize a great big event. And we put it in the media. And we say, protect your democracy. And go to the voting polls and make sure that you mark down that Tammy needs to be in charge and tell everybody how to live their life. Because it's the moral thing to do. Because if you don't vote, you don't get to complain about who gets put in place. So you'll want to vote, right? Oh, and make sure that you don't vote one of those other guys, one of those smaller ones, because then you're splitting the vote, and it's going to make it harder for Tammy to actually be in charge of everybody like she's morally allowed to. Where's this going?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It doesn't really matter what you voted for.
voice is super laggy. I'm so sorry, guys. I wish I knew what was going on. I've got a good internet connection. I did a speed test right before. I apologize. I just about it. Next time, come and join us in person. It's way more fun. Okay, so still no moral authority, right? Yeah, I know you want to be in charge. And I've talked to people who are freedom fighters, and I'm not even going to say who they are, but they have talked about running for prime minister. And there are people who go like, whoa, that would be so amazing. Wait a second. So Tammy, we don't like Tammy because she doesn't have the moral authority. But what if we got Jesus? What if Jesus was sitting there? Would that miraculously make it morally, a moral authority possible over top of man? He got free will. Even gave his people a king against his will. That's how much free will he's given us. So, no, even if Jesus was sitting here and we all voted that Jesus got to tell Amanda what to do with her life, he would not have the moral authority to do so. And yet, we all have it guilty. Maybe not all of us. But the majority of us have it our feet out into these things called voting booths and systematically destroying our country as a result. And that even sounds inflammatory. I get that because we're told that that's what we have to do. No one has any right or moral authority to tell anyone what to do with their life, how to spend their money, where their money must go, who they have to associate with, what medicine they have to take. Nobody has the moral authority. And no one's fit to do it. Even if they had the moral authority, there is not a single person on this planet that is good enough for the job. And let's just take it a step further. If someone seeks the position, they're even worse. That's why I don't get invited to many rallies. A connection disturbance. Okay, I'm not going to end the broadcast. Definitely, I apologize. I hope that the recording ends up uploading very well so people can play it back. I do apologize. I wish I could fix that for you guys. Sound is quiet. My voice kind of went a little bit. I'll try turning up my microphone settings here, and hopefully that helps out. I do wish that I had somebody to help me out. I hope that that's better. Okay. I think I'm done with that rant. That was an hour of not talking about how to exit the fake monetary system. What's the saying? Get on with it already. Okay. Oh, the microphone is automatically lowering based on how loud I speak. Okay, so then let's do this. Settings. Audio and automatically adjust. We're just going to make that mic volume 75% and call it good. Hopefully that helps out with the audio. Thank you. Thank you for the comments. Thanks for letting me know. Okay. So the question rises, obviously. I've talked a lot about why we should be leaving this whole system to rot in the abyss from whence it came. But how do we do it? Do this on a national scale. There's no way you can vote your way out of tyranny. There's absolutely no amount of legislation that could possibly bring this about. And that kind of sounds discouraging. Well, wouldn't it be great if just everybody to stop Canadian dollar? That would actually be dangerous. Can you imagine having someone out there, an authority so great that they were able to tell people how they can and cannot trade? That'd be no better than what we're currently dealing with, where now there's someone that can tell you whether or not you're allowed to trade by turning off your bank. That's disgusting. So no, we don't want to have a society where we just tell everybody to smarten up and use good money. So to coming here and meeting us online and coming to the movie nights and learning about how they can market their businesses better. We've got a team, we've got now about seven business owners that are working within our community on how to market their businesses, because the world is never, ever, ever going back to the old normal, okay? The new normal that they talk about is obviously fraud, okay? But there is a new earth emerging, and it doesn't even remotely look the same as what we were used to. And that's a good thing, because what we're used to was called slavery. Economic slavery. It's disgusting. And the world that we're going to doesn't even require gold and silver as a standard. And now some people online are going to be like, I'm out. This guy's a lunatic. Hear me out. Why is it that we've attached the value of gold and silver to things? Like, because I mean, like I said, like 2,000 years ago, you'd take an ounce of gold somewhere, you could buy it. Well, today, you can take an ounce of gold, it's worth $100 something US, right? You can go and buy a really nice suit with that. Really, like Armani custom, great suit. Like even Hugo Boss is below that, right? It's a nice suit. Why is it that the value of gold has maintained itself that way? Why is it? Like, why is it that it stood the test of time?
There's like industrial uses, but more in silver than gold.
Correct. There's certainly more industrial uses in silver. Gold, there's still great industrial uses. It's used in a lot of electronics. And because it's a better conductor than even copper. It's just copper's cheaper, right? But yeah, no, gold has its industrial uses. Silver has its industrial uses, and that's great. But even before we had those industrial uses, the value was there, right? So what is it? What has it retained its value so much? Scarcity, okay, yeah. And it's real. It's scarce. Those are contributing factors to the real reason. Does anybody know? Are you ready to have your bacon fried? It's the same reason why that $10 bill gets 2 boxes of Rice Krispies. People believe it has value. Now, obviously, the belief is a lot more rooted in objectivism, right? Because yes, gold and silver has its actual real world uses. And it's something you can hold. It's something that actually takes effort and labor and resources to go and extract out of the earth in order to accumulate the supply, right? So that is why that's why it has more value in that sense, why it retains its value. But when it comes right down to it, if gold and silver were so awesome, why is it that diamonds are so inflated? Because diamonds are actually harder to bring out of the ground than gold. Marketing, yep. No. Why is it that diamonds are just like overvalued? Because I mean, you get diamond bits for drilling through concrete, and they're cheap compared to the diamonds that you get. So why is it diamonds are inflated in price? It's actually the same reason that the $10 bill gets to, that we believe it to be that valuable.
The media.
And the media, of course, contributes to this belief. There's no question. Oh, the sparkles are amazing. There's no question. But I mean, but now you can get moissanite. Anybody know what moissanite is? And moissanite is a lab-grown diamond. And they can actually make it purer than diamond. So if you like the sparkles, go get moissanite because it's only $2,000 for 1 carat. It's wild. It's wild. This world is absolutely wild. People's belief in things are what give it flight. That's it. But that belief now hangs on a thread. And so what I want to do within our community is help people be ready for when that thread gets cut. And whether that thread gets cut by we the people, or if it gets cut by World Economic Forum, we want to be ready for that. I believe that because the war is fake, they've lost hardcore. We've got about 8 more days to kind of be able to tell what's the next 6 months going to look like. So we're at this fork. I'm hopeful, and I've got good reason to believe that the reason why they're doing this is because they recognize that COVID was no longer the cash cow that it once was, and they needed money to come back into the market. So Joe's mistake of saying that he could just take your money or freeze your account. There was such a bank run last week. It wasn't even well. There was the one post I posted where the one wasn't the Minister of Finance, obviously that's Freeland, but there was someone else, some internal revenue, something or the other in Canada here, who said that he was going to make it so that banks wouldn't let you withdraw cash. They weren't going to let you do it. You had to keep it in the system. Well, that also created a bank run. Because people are like, what? I'm really hoping that the audio is still
There's
good.
been all kinds of stuff to contribute to that.
Oh,
There was another thing that just said there'd be no internet for 10 days.
Yes.
And take money out so you could buy groceries because you need the cash.
so if the internet's down, how are you going to buy your groceries?
I know, but
Because
it
they have
was
to
all
enter the
kinds of-
numbers.
yeah,
They have to
they
enter the
still
numbers
have.
into the internet to record what they did. Now, it could be that they would default back to an older society.
Right.
They would just do it at the end of the week type thing. Yeah, or that. So there are different things, and the 10 days of darkness. That's something that stems back, I think, from 2016 with the whole QAnon thing, because that dropped. That was like, I think it was 2016 or 17 the latest. They're still holding to that rumor. I'll put it that way. It's what we're going to experience. I believe we actually have a higher chance of getting hit by a solar flare that puts out our systems. And I say that because the solar flare that hit, what was that, 1908? Something? There was a solar flare that hit the Earth in the early 1900s. And it took out all the power grids for like 4 days. But back then, not everybody was on power, so it wasn't like a catastrophe, right? Well, that solar flare, which they were able to measure, we have the instruments to be able to measure that solar flare. That solar flare was eclipsed last week by a factor of 5. But that solar flare was pointing away from Earth. Yeah. So we dodged a bullet. On a interplanetary scale, we dodged a bullet. Yeah. If that would have been facing us, we would probably still be in darkness. Because that was, I don't think that was 2 weeks ago.
No, I don't remember if you actually answered, why did the market not crash in particular? Because I have seen other things
War.
about that. Is that why? Because
Because
the war
they
that-
needed it. They needed the war
that makes you-
because the large financial institutions, they were running out of liquidity, but now they can attract investors with a war. So that propped things up just a little bit longer, but honestly just kick the can down the road. Why? Because it's a fake war.
Well, and so my question around the whole monetary system question, because it is, so those people who have mega bucks, their system is costing as well. Like, I get it's gonna impact, regular people.
Yep.
But it's also gonna impact them, because there are ducats that they have stored, they're not stored anything, they have gold. Well, they've got land, they have gold, maybe, that's, part of Russia has gold, so, but there are people who have lots of money that will be, fired on. Like, they stand to lose something to it, in my opinion. Is that why they keep propping it up?
So a lot of people think that they want money. They don't. They don't care about money because they can just make it if they want it, right? So they actually don't care about money. What do they care about?
For power.
Control. They want control. See, in the 1666, there was an act. I can't remember the name of it. It's a Latin term, but it basically means. Basically, I think the translation of it was something like. I'd have to look at it again. The translation of it was something along the lines of the reclamation of the real man, meaning that they already had a system in place to circumvent identity with a fictional entity. And that fictional entity they were able to put into trust, and that trust was in the bank and able to accumulate based on the amount of revenue that you were bringing the king. Yeah. And we still do it today, just different, right? But that's the economic slavery system that we live in. That's the economic slavery system that we live in. 1666. Yeah. That was the day that we basically lost our sovereign identity and we became a fictional corporation, and that corporation gets traded in the stock market. And it got solidified with our birth certificate. Why do they call it a birth certificate? What happens when a ship comes into the dock? It breaks the water and births. And in order for that ship to be, so the ship has goods, in order for those goods to land on shore, it has to be brought through by a doctor. That doctor is a broker. Back in the day, in those days, when a ship came, you get a broker, and that broker would then write down how much it weighed, what color was it, how long was it, and in order for it to be received, which, by the way, it was also brought in by the ship, which under maritime law had to be named a woman, because it was the woman that broke the water and birthed into the harbor. So your birth certificate is simply the confirmation of the goods that arrived by water. And the reason why they wanted you to be brought in by water is so that they can have jurisdiction over you. That's why we want to be ruled by the law of the land, not by the law of the sea. So we have maritime and admiralty law That's the law of the sea, where the captain was the boss. He was God. If he said something, you listened, because everybody's lives were at stake, because you were at sea. Oh man, I should do. Who would be interested? Leave a comment if you would be interested in me going into the power of language in banking, the power of language in religion, the power of language in the worship of the sun. I can go right back straight to Egypt if you want. I can go about that for an hour. Fascinating topic. If you want that, comment. If you want that, I can do that. What's that? Yeah, no, that whole system, the court system, I can go into how that whole system. Oh yeah. Oh. So yeah, unfortunately, we can't use it in court anymore, and that's just because they don't recognize it. Even a few years ago, you could get away with some things using the common law, the law of the land, in court, and only because they wasn't that serious. But now it's serious. Now it's serious. Their systems are fragile, and they can't allow it. They'll just kick you out. And we saw it. It was even just. There's a lady actually, Bernadette. Does anybody know Bernadette? Yeah, Bernadette. Her husband was the man that got hauled out of Costco, assaulted by cops, given a ticket, had to go to court. When he showed up in court, the judge said, "So where are you from?" East Europe. And is it a communist country? Yeah. What would have happened to you in that communist country had you disobeyed the rules like that? He was like, "Whoa, probably would have got beaten." And the judge said, "Then pay your ticket and get out of my courtroom. Consider yourself lucky." Yeah. So we don't have it. We don't have a justice system anymore. So unfortunately, we can't use things like the law of the land because it doesn't apply in their jurisdiction. They don't care about it. They hate you. They want you to die. If you ever want to know the answer to the question, why are they doing this? They're crazy. They're not even making any sense. The answer is they hate you and they want you to die. And oh yeah, that's where I was going. The Act in 1666, it actually goes into great detail of exactly how the elites view you. You ready? You're cattle. That's how they actually view you. Alex Thompson goes in great detail about this as well. I think it was like an hour-long conversation where he goes on into the mentality of you. And as soon as you watch it, when you're done, you're like, oh, it makes perfect sense. Like, that's why they call it human resources. You're a resource to them. You're nothing but a resource. That's it. So they don't care about the money. They just care about the power. They just care about control. That's it. And this new system that comes forward is a whole new level, a whole new brand of control. That's what it is. So still, an hour and 23 minutes in, I still told you how to exit this whole damn system. So let's go on to that. Thank you for your patience. I hope that it was still valuable. I do feel sometimes it's good to give a background so people get a sense of where we're at in the larger picture. Communities have to decentralize the power. Plain and simple, that's how we've done it. Every other revolution, that's how we have to do it this time. And every other revolution, guess where we did it? Guess where we conducted revolutions? The taverns and the pubs and the bars. That's where we did it before. That's why they locked those down first, because they knew that if they could shut that down, they could slow us down. Because every revolution started at the pub. Isn't that crazy?
That's awesome.
Yeah, I know.
The liquor store thing, what a business though.
Ugh, I know. That we're yeah. We're doing some pub runs because we gotta catch up. Anyway, so combine this idea of decentralizing the power, and they derive their power from the means of trade, the means of exchange. Those dollar bills that we pull out or that card that we swipe is how we interact with people. That's how we get our groceries. It's how we are able to communicate with our phones. It's how we're able to put fuel into these 3,000-pound hunks of metal and projectile it down the highway at 100 kilometers an hour for literally $18 every 100 kilometers. Like, think about that for a second. That's a miracle of science. You tell me how. There's my car, Volkswagen. It's a lighter car, so it doesn't actually take as much work as it does, say, like a big pickup truck or something like that. But I would love it for someone to figure out how to get that thing to go onto the Anthony Henday at 110 kilometers an hour. You can use whatever force you want. You can use whatever you want. And if you can do it for cheaper than gas, even at these prices, let me know. Push it, get a bunch of horses, do whatever you want, but it's got to go 100 kilometers an hour for 100 kilometers for $18. Can you do it? Like, it's just a miracle of science, right? So let's really, really grateful for where we're at. But all those things that we do, that thing we call currency, is under their control. They don't want you to afford something. They just inject money supply into the economy, just like we talked about the example with the 2% inflation of the store. It's the same thing. If they really don't want you to buy something, they'll just put more money into the economy to make sure that that your demise happens faster. Okay.
What's been happening for the last 2 years.
Yeah, well, yeah, and the last 2 years at an accelerated rate.
Yeah, right? Where
Yeah.
everyone can see it.
Yeah, so now people can see it. So combine that idea, they want control over the mean trade or the exchange. Combine that principle with the idea that you have a cell phone, and if you don't like that provider anymore, you go to a different provider. Create a frame of mind now, okay? Remember I said nothing is going to look the same? I'm going to give you a quick example, and then we'll jump right back into this. Advertising. This is why I'm teaching businesses how to market themselves, because advertising is not even going to happen anywhere close to the same way as it used to, and it's actually kind of a cool thing. This is neat. Even in the metaverse, it's kind of a unique thing. You're going to have your phone, your device, okay? You're going to get an update one day on your operating system. You're going to scroll down through the options, and it's going to ask you, do you want to see ads or not? And you can say yes or no. But you actually will want to say yes. Do you know why? Because you get to set the price of how much you'll be paid to watch 30 seconds. Yeah, that's pretty cool. Now, wait a second though. Businesses are like, well, that's okay. Well, we're already paying money to have people see it. Now it's just going to the user. But tell me the last time you saw an ad and was like, oh my God, I gotta get that. Wait, is about $20,000 a year. And how much ads you're exposed to every single year? $20,000. And that was 2017 prices. You tell me whether or not you bought that much because of ads. Probably not intentionally, that's for sure. So that means when they are forced now to pay you directly and you don't like the ads, you can go back to your phone settings and be like, yeah, I'm going to double the price. That's a game changer, right? So because everything is changing, I would love it if you could all change your mindset around monetary systems. You know what? I'm going to use a piece of paper. I do. Here's a piece of paper. There is a fold in there, but let's just pretend that this piece of paper is flat, okay? I go like this, okay? And then when I let go, it just kind of goes back to its original shape, right? Okay. I would like you to go like this to your brain and actually give it a good crease so that it doesn't go back perfectly straight ever again. Okay? People are all crazy about this decentralized currency, like Bitcoin. But I've seen how that's played out. And nobody's minds are really being warped by it. A lot of people have made a lot of money, and a lot of people have lost a lot of money. But the way that they're traded is no different than how the stock market's traded, just with more volatility. But it doesn't actually shift your brain, because we can relate to that concept. Oh yeah, it went up, and then it went down, and then it went up, and then it went down. And a whole bunch of people made money while it went up, and I didn't. And then it went down, and I could have bought, but I didn't. And then it went up. Our minds aren't changing. They're not being reframed. Okay? You ready? I'm going to show you how to create your very own decentralized bank. Not partake in some currency that's decentralized. But I want you to actually create your own bank. How's that? Okay, now people are like, how is that possible? I know. You're going to have to fold that piece of paper, your brain, and make sure that it doesn't come back. Okay? You are in charge of your money. Every last bit of it is yours. And only by your consent can anybody ever know how much you have, never mind tell you to give you some or give them some. Do you know what happened to the slaves after the Civil War in America? There were 3 different types of slaves after they were liberated. Do you know what happened? A very small amount of them. Okay, now I'm going to tell you the story, and I don't want you to get sidetracked and relate it to today. You're going to, but don't. That's me telling you don't think of a pink elephant. Okay? So there were 3 types of slaves. There was the very few minority, and they weren't a fringe, but they got pissed, really, really angry. Prior to being sold, got instilled in them principles of wisdom on how unjust their life was and how unjustly they were treated. And they got so pissed that they went and killed their slave masters. They knew they got duped, and they went after the dupers. Don't think of the pink elephant. Next thing, there was another group, and they didn't know what to do because they had gone through 2 generations of knowing nothing but slavery. They were literally born into that environment. So they didn't have a frame of reference of what life was like outside of picking cotton under a whip. They didn't know what to do. They went to the cities and lived off the streets. It was horrible. Then there's a 3rd group of slaves. Please, for the love of God, do not go into that group. They didn't know what to do either. And so they went up the road to be slaves for someone else. They literally begged to be put back into the fields. And they said, you don't even have to pay us. Just make sure that we've got shelter and some food. We already know how to take care of your fields. We'll take care of it. We'll be fine. We are going through, we are, all of us, coming out of a period of time where we are all under economic slavery. Okay? The medical slavery is nothing compared to the economic slavery that we've all endured for the better part of 2,000 years. Please, 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 do not fall for the central bank of digital currencies. You own you. And everything that you do is your productivity. Property. You own it. Nobody has any moral authority to tell you what to do with your life, remember? Nobody has any moral authority to tell you what to do with your money. No one has any moral authority to tell you what to do. Out, you added value to the world, and in exchange, someone thanked you by providing you with their property. That's how much it was valuable to them. They actually gave you their property in exchange for the value that you provided. That's pretty basic. That's natural law. There's nothing abnormal about that. What's abnormal is that someone says, I see that your friend or that person gave you some of their property. I'm going to need some of it. And you could ask me, well, what did you do to deserve it? And I would respond and say, it doesn't matter. I have a gun. Then some people would say, well, how are we going to, get the roads built? How are we going to take care of the hospitals? How are we going to take care of the homeless, the people that are needy? That's how. We took care of the homeless. We swept the streets. We cleared the snow. We played hockey with police officers, for crying out loud. We built a soup kitchen in the street. We did that. And there was nobody that told them that they couldn't. And even when the people said they couldn't, they did it anyway. That's how free we are. We don't need anybody to pave that road for us. In fact, the same people who paved that road, a private corporation contracted by the government that paved that road, we could pay that company directly and save ourselves a pile of cash in bureaucracy. People come at me all the time. You hate healthcare. What? How is it that my desire to have ownership of my property equates to me hating healthcare? In fact, I like my healthcare so much that when I go to someone that practices healthcare, not sick care, healthcare, I offer some of my property, genius idea, voluntarily in exchange for their value in being healthy. And they teach me how to do it. So no, I don't hate healthcare. I love it. What I hate is the healthcare system that takes from your wallets under the premise that it's for health, when we know full well that that is not the case, that's not where the money goes. The money doesn't go there at all. Does anybody know how much the deficit increased over the last 2 years? Do you know does anybody know what the deficit was before COVID? Yeah, federal deficit.
It went up by about $10 billion, trillion dollars or something crazy.
It was crazy. It was crazy. It was 800 billion prior to COVID.
And now it's like doubled, tripled.
1.2 trillion dollars. So it increased by 50%. Now think of it this way. The amount of money they had to print to do that was 80% of all the money that Canada has ever printed. Yeah. We're lucky that we can still get groceries right now. But that time is ticking. Stop using their product. Why? Because it sucks. You do the same thing with your phones. And I get the only reason why we're using it right now, especially if you're aware of the amount, even if you're not, you could be aware 1/10 of what I am of the dangers of holding Canadian dollars. I haven't had Canadian dollars in my bank. Like I have operating in my bank, but that usually fluctuates between $100 and $1,000. That's it. That's it. Everything else, gold and silver, and now cryptos. That's it. And in fact, my bank that I built on my terms with my rules is backed by my gold and silver that I have in my safe. You can do this. You can actually back your own currency in your own bank with whatever you want. Now, I'm not limited by gold and silver. Why? Let's talk about this. Again, brainwave here, okay? We are very familiar with an asset-backed currency, and we normally gravitate towards the idea that gold and silver, gold-backed currency is probably the most secure. In the past, that's absolutely true. But remember what I said. The only reason why gold has the value that it does is because we believe it's valuable. But here's something that, regardless of our belief, retains its. Does anybody know what that is? Service to others. If you do something for me, it doesn't matter what anybody else thinks. That's of service to me. That's value. We are going to a value-backed financial system. Sorry. Exactly. But thankfully, we don't necessarily have to do it with direct bartering we have in the past. Because there are many instances where some people are like, yeah, this is what I do, but that's not helpful to the one that I'm looking to trade with. And so we still need to have some sort of a tokenization of the value that we are providing for people. So that when I go to someone and I don't have something like my own service to them isn't something that they necessarily need, maybe they got that taken care of already. I still need to be able to do trade with them. And so we can tokenize the value. And that's the system that we're going into. You will be paid in accordance to, you might want to write this one down, and it is being recorded. We are going to get paid directly proportional to the degree we fulfill say it again. We are going to get paid in direct proportion to the degree we fulfill our intent to serve others. What does that sound like to you? Anybody?
It does sound like a barter system.
Yep.
Sounds fair. It sounds like we have to be able to promote and sell our, like, to other people.
Yep. You're going to need to be marketable.
Yeah, you need
Yep.
to also gain their trust,
Need to gain trust.
and you
Yep.
need to fulfill what it is you said you would do.
And you need to be able to fulfill what you said you were going to do. And that principle right there is the most important. Does anybody know how to summarize that into one or two words? It's called customer service. Yeah. Truth in what? Truth in advertising. That's good. Yeah, that's a good thing. Anybody else? Integrity. Yeah, be your word. The term that has been used for over 2,000 years is self-governance. The moment you become 100% responsible for your life, you're self-governed. Nobody has the authority to tell you what to do with your life. Nobody. Except by your consent. If you say to someone, you know what, I don't want to take care of the roads in our community. I think someone else should take care of the roads in our community. That community has said, we don't want to be self-governing and passing up responsibility to someone else. The moment they pass up the responsibility, they pass up self-governance. And the moment you pass up self-governance, you give up freedom. That's the first point of freedom that gets eroded. As simple as the road outside. There is nothing I want more than for us as a community. Self-govern. Every society that has ever done it has thrived. And it's going to take a lot of work. It's going to take a lot of work. Most of the work is up here. That yesterday was so important for those of you that were at the session yesterday. Self-governance is something that happens here first. Govern yourself. Still haven't showed you how to start up your bank. Okay, I'm going to fire off some things here. I'm actually going to open up this list. Oh, and Team Craig asks, as the owner of my own company, how can I pay myself a salary and not call it an income? You just pay yourself in your own currency with your own bank, and you don't call it income at all. You call it earnings. And the great thing is that when it's your bank and your currency, no one has to know about it. And yes, you and I have to catch up, my good friend, and get you set up. I apologize. It's been wild, but we'll get you set up. Where is, there we go. Okay, so the first thing that you're going to want to do is you're going to want to get a new browser for your computer. It's called Brave. B-R-A-V-E. I have Brave now, but I only use it for anything that has to do with my currencies.
So inside the regular banking system and outside, or just?
My banking system.
Yeah, okay.
Yep. I still use my app, my banking app on my phone. But again, I don't have my finances been set up for this way for 4 years, 5 years. So I'm not saying that you just need to all of a sudden do what I'm doing. I'm just giving you the steps to start exiting this system. Okay. I'm going to make sure tonight you have a way to go through all of those steps to be able to move the old product that is decrepit and dying and stupid and put into a new product that you create. Okay. So Brave. Next thing you're going to want to get is an account at global.bittrex, bittrex.com. This is a digital currency exchange. So that is where you will be able to take your Canadian dollars and transfer it into digital currencies. Now, some people are like, oh, that's not safe. I can tell you right now that whatever concerns you may have about digital currencies pale in comparison to the concerns you should be having for the monetary system right now. Okay? And some people say, yes, but they could just turn off the power and then all of these digital currencies are worthless. Yeah, I get that. And while the power's off, it's going to suck because you're not going to be able to access that money. That's why for the last 7 years, I've been telling people, get some gold and silver. But think of it this way. What they want to bring forward is called a central bank of digital currencies. If the power goes down and it stays down, we won the war. And they won't let that happen. The power will come back. If you lose these, and you do what I told you, okay, make sure that you have something in case the power doesn't come back on. That chance is so slim because there are two things happening. Number one, they will not allow their system. They need to carry through with their plan of slavery. Okay, so the power will come back on. If it doesn't, one currency that you lost, because everything is going to be value based at that point. So you do want to have some sort of marketable skill, and I can help you discover what that is if you don't have some. I'm going to start another 3-month program. We just are finishing up one here at the end of March, where we helped out those business owners. I'm going to be doing another one starting at the beginning of April. I'll ask me about that later on. I'm going to do another events throughout March talking about how to do that. Those that don't know how to start a business, I'll help you. I'll help you get something. Anything. It doesn't matter what it is. I will help you get it. I've talked to people who have been working for the man, so to speak, for 30 years, and they're starting something on their own right now, and they're getting. In fact, there's a gentleman who he's actually getting a quote where the funding is hundreds of millions of dollars, and they're allocating resources to various aspects of improving society. Those people are the equivalent of the good guys that are elite. And they're pouring money into rebuilding society, knowing that it has to be done at a community level. And they're only giving money to people who are doing something that's contributing to that end. There's a lot of money there. And so I'm helping someone actually start a business that is helping form a nation to restore some sense of dignity that we have as Canadians. Because everything that has been happening for the last 80 years has been an embarrassment. Anyway, I'll help you with that. Bittrex is the exchange where you can turn your Canadian dollars into cryptocurrencies. sure where I was going with that. We're going to Shake Pay. This is for backup. Some banks now and some currency exchanges, the digital currency exchanges, well, the digital exchanges are happy now to contact their subscribers, their members, and saying, just the Canadian government told us to disclose your banking information, to monitor your account. And we have no choice. They're going to comply because they're stupid, like anybody else that complies with a criminal organization, the government of Canada. They're complying because you're losing business. So they're going to. The backup to that is shakepay.com. It's a smaller exchange specifically just to go from Canadian into Bitcoin. And the purpose of that is literally in and out. You're just going to transfer it from Canadian dollars into Bitcoin, and you're going to get out of that exchange. Bank can look like different things, but the easiest one to get started. And if you want some more levels of security, I will help. And I'm not charging for any of this. I help. My monetary exchange happens when I help businesses get started, or get them launched, or even accelerate their business. That's where I specialize. ShakePay.com. That is an app on your phone. It allows you to e-transfer Canadian dollars into that exchange, and then you're going to take that. You're going to take those Canadian dollars in that exchange, and you're going to flip it into Bitcoin. And then you're going to take that Bitcoin, and then you can bring it over if you wanted to. You can bring it over to Bittrex, where you can turn it into another currency if you want. So if you wanted to work with Polygon or Cardano or any of the other coins that are available, don't go in blind. Where to go? But the easier route is another app on your phone called Exodus. Just like it sounds, just like the book of the Bible. EXODUS. And that is the fastest way you can take your money and be off the grid. And yes, 100%, you don't to sign up. Next, wallet that you can get is called, they're various hardware wallets, or sometimes they're known as cold storage. Your phone is always connected to the internet. Now, in order to access your wallet, you'll still need to have the key, and that key is yours. Don't ever share that with anybody. That's your private key, and don't lose, because then you lose that wallet. There's no restoring that wallet if you lose that. So you don't even take a picture of it with your phone. You actually write it down. And I actually have a dummy wallet with a dummy that if someone breaks into my home and says, "Give me your key," I can be like, "Oh my God, no, please don't take my key. It's on the back of the photo of my grandparents' house," right? Or whatever. I'm just coming up with dumb shit. But that's you want to make it look like it's something sentimental, and then you pass that over. Okay. I do the same thing with my silver. I've got some shiny silver, overpriced. An ounce of silver is, I don't know, 30 Canadian. I bought it for $80. It's got a hologram on it, right? So I put that on my shelf. People can steal that. I don't care, because my real silver and my real gold is somewhere else. Same idea. Do it with your wallet. And if someone does, if you're like, "No, it was a boating accident, I lost my key," I don't know what it is. Or you could even say, "I lost the actual hardcore, the hardware wallet." And it's a physical thing. You plug it into your computer. And while it's plugged into the computer, you do your transfers, and then you unplug it, and it's whole. Nobody knows it exists. offline. I like Trezor. Trezor. And you want the Model T because the other Trezor doesn't have as many currencies that you can store on it. But then there's third generation blockchain, and that's a whole other world. And that's the world that we're headed into. That's actually the direction that we're taking this whole monetary system. As individuals, in our own communities, doing our own thing. All right, 2 more. For myself, I'm now accepting payment in Cardano. Even my students for the marketing thing. So part of the marketing course, I teach them how to market their business. I take them through how to think marketing so that they don't get caught, like literally caught with absolutely nothing in this next world that we're moving into. So there's that part of it. But then the other aspect of that is how to set business up. It's ready to receive Cardano or whatever you want. It doesn't have to be Cardano. I'm choosing Cardano because of what it means to me, what it stands for. That whole ecosystem of developers there, they all stand for freedom. So I chose Cardano. But I'm not saying that you can't go and choose something else. And the beauty of this whole system is it can. It's your bank. It's your bank. You can do whatever you want. I'm choosing Cardano. I chose Yoroi as a wallet. YOROI. And there are other wallets that you can get into. I just did an investment with one of my wallets. So think of wallets. You know how when you've got your Starbucks card, you got your Hortons card, and you got your McDonald's card, your Costco card, all these different wallets you can't load, but you've got these loadable cards, right, for different accounts. That's what wallets are in cryptocurrencies. Okay, think of it that way. Yoroi is your checking account in your bank. Okay. Now, and again, Yoroi is for Cardano. There are other ones. You can get MetaMask for the other coins. You can get there are lots. There's what's it called? JAXX. There's various other ones. You get decentralized. Another good one in Canada is Nunchuck, and that's just strictly Bitcoin. But Nunchuck actually had a really cool thing. Referral codes. Yeah, people, you're more than welcome to share referral codes. I don't care about that shit. But Bittrex, BITTREX. There are others. You can go Binance one. There's Kraken, but Kraken, by the way, they're going to be the most subservient to government overreach. I wouldn't, but again, it's up to you. I like Bittrex because the fees are the lowest when it comes to transactions. I'm going to share with you something quite comical that happened with oh my goodness, so many messages. I got to scroll down so far in order to find the one I'm looking for. Here we go. This is hilarious. The Ontario Superior Court of Justice asked self-custody wallet provider Nunchuck to disclose user information and freeze users' Bitcoin. This was Nunchuck's response. Dear the Ontario Superior Court of Justice, Nunchuck is a self-custodial collaborative multi-sig coin wallet. Now that's a bunch of language. Don't worry about that. They go into detail. We're a software provider. We're not a custodial intermediary. Our software is free to use. It allows people to limit points of failures and store Bitcoin in the safest way possible while preserving privacy. We do not collect any user identification information beyond email addresses, and we also do not hold any keys. Therefore, we cannot freeze our users' assets. We cannot prevent them from being moved. We do not have knowledge of the existence, nature, value, and location of users' assets. This is by design. And this next paragraph that I have to share with you is the friendliest way you possibly give the middle finger to the superior. Are you ready? This is amazing. And this, when I read this, I literally had chills up and down my spine. Think about how self-custody and work. When the Canadian dollar becomes worthless, we will be here to serve you as well. Sincerely, the Nunchuck team. None, N-U-N-C-H-U-K. Now, that is strictly Bitcoin. So if you just want to have Bitcoin, I'm not against it, but just recognize it's volatile, okay? I like going towards things that stay more relatively close to the same value as it progresses through time. And Cardano has also gone up and down as well, okay? So just because I picked it doesn't mean you have to. I picked it because of what we're building in behind the millions of dollars aside to help rebuild nations in only one of the treasuries within Cardano convinced me that this is an ecosystem that I can get behind. When the people who are literally building the necessary code to free you financially, and already, this isn't some kind, so a lot of these crypto coins, they're literally built around video games. It's crazy. Oh, I'm going to start a coin. What's it going to be about? It's going to be about this video game that's not even invented yet. And I'm going to code this video game and it's going to be it's going to go to the moon. It's crazy. It works. They're doing it. There are people who are going starting businesses and people board those businesses and put 100,000 monthly. Yeah. It actually works. But here's the thing, it's all speculative, right? And there's nothing wrong with that. In fact, entertainment is not wrong. There's nothing inherently wrong with wanting time in front of the screen. Exactly. Who's Cardano? Let's be real. Here's the thing. While there are projects within Cardano that are video game based, that's not the heart of this ecosystem. Okay? The heart of the ecosystem, and even so much as the mission behind one of the companies that has an incredible amount of funding behind it, is to free people. And in fact, they're already doing it right now as we speak in Africa. Their goal, and they are well on track, is for Africa to be the wealthiest continent by 2020 or 2050. The wealthiest continent, and they're doing it. Okay? I've picked Cardano because I'm not interested. I'm interested in making some money off those other coins. Hell yeah. And I'm getting into that now. And I'm going to be bringing forward that knowledge. I'm going to give you guys some heads up. Be like, hey, I'm going into this. This is how much I'm putting in of my net worth. Just to see how it goes. And it might be something stupid like $50. Or I might be like, you know what? I'm more prone to this one. This one's 1,000. There are loaning companies now. Microfinance is a whole new world. Remember I said, think of it this way. You are creating your own bank. What do banks do? They provide capital for someone to go and do a venture. And based on their ability to provide return on that venture, you're more than happy to provide that loan. Well, you have your own bank. Now you can go ahead and loan $50 if you want and get it back in 7 days. Why does that work? I'll go through this very briefly. These developers have what are called smart contracts. They are actually held by these smart contracts without needing a lawyer to be able to say, okay, My customer wants me to, I'm gonna use the example of a website. My customer wants me to build a website. And the parameters of that website are this, and this, and this, and I gotta get all of this done in order for that money to, that money is in escrow, inside the contract, waiting to be released to the developer. The developer has got some things that he needs to do for that money to be released. And some of that stuff has to come out of pocket. Well, if he's having a hard time coming up with the necessary, maybe he has to pay some people, maybe he has to, maybe he has to buy a certain tool or purchase a packet of hosting. There are a lot of different things that could be out of pocket for him. And if that becomes so much that to have either he doesn't have the money or he doesn't want to use his own capital, he can go to a decentralized financing system where it can be an accumulative thing. So you putting in $50 doesn't mean he's borrowing $50. You're putting in $50 into a great big pool, and that great big pool gets loaned out. And you can choose, I want to amortize in 7 days, 14 days, 21 days. Or you can even say, I want it to go 28 days. Doesn't matter. You pick, you're the bank. You can do whatever you want. And you get paid 0.06 to 0.08% per day in interest, which doesn't seem like much, 0.06%. That's actually really small, right? Because 1% would be $1 on 100 per day, right? But it's not even that. It's 0.06. So it's 6 cents off of $100 per day. But wait, that's compounded. You can go in there and be like, to reloan this at the end of that 7 days. So what happens is the developer goes ahead, I need some quick money to be able to, and I know I'll have no problem paying that 0.06% per day. Why? Because my contract is going to pay me X amount of dollars, and I'm more than pay for the cost of borrowing that money to have that money in my account. Okay, we've been doing that for a long time. That's Robert Kiyosaki. He's been that for a long. He's been teaching that principle for many years. The cost of borrowing money is better than having that money leave your account, even for a short term, depending if it works, right? If it doesn't work, these developers, they don't have the money or they don't want to have it leave their account, so they borrow, they get the job done, and they get paid and they pay off that loan instantly. And as of right now, the guy that I'm following right now that does this, he's been doing it 8 months, rolling over his money into the next loan, and never once has it not been paid. Why? Because there's a contract in place. These people can't take out a loan unless they're bringing forward a contract where they're going to get paid. And if they don't get paid, they can't. If they're doing the job, if they complete the job. So remember what I was talking about? That's the most. This system incentivizes self-governance. You have to be accountable, because if you're not going to get paid. The gone is the day where you get paid for something you didn't do, right? So that's what this DeFi is an opportunity. But that 0.06 to 0.08% per day, what's the compound interest on that per annum? Do you know? No? You did accounting, right? Oh, okay. I apologize. I thought you had an accounting background. Somebody had a background that I talked to last week. That's 36% per year. You tell me where you can do that with the bank. You can't. The very, very best institutional traders, like in the highest level of mutual funds and you get into the future trading and stuff like that, the very best of them will be 20% per year. But you now can start your own bank and start lending out money at 0.06% per day. That's pretty cool. And that's a conservative one. Okay. There are more risky ones where you might not make anything, but then you might 100x it. Who knows? But the idea is you own you. And there's an entire system that's ready, willing, and able to support you in owning you. No one can legislate anything in that world. And that's where the power is. So that's what I'm working on for our community. Any questions? 2 hours and 15 minutes, and 1 hour and 15 minutes of that was shit. Go ahead.
I do have a question. What was the website? Is it global.bitrix.com?
Yes. Yeah, you got it. Global.bitrix, bittx.com. Okay, so Yoroi wallet, I talked about that real briefly. I wanted to talk about the bank. So the Yoroi wallet, I'm using that as my checking account. Okay. Oh yeah, no, they were back again. That was weird. So I use Yoroi like my checking account. Right now, I'm working on something with my girlfriend. She's actually gone ahead. There's a whole nother, I could talk another hour about this. So CryptoPunks, does anyone know what a CryptoPunk is? Okay, in 2017, there was a group of people, they called themselves Larva Labs. Larva Labs is this developer community, and they do all kinds of different crazy stuff with tech. But one of the things they did was that they actually got a computer to generate 10,000 profile photos. And they're all randomized. Some of them have got long hair, some of them have got orange hair, some of them have got beards, some of them actually even have a mask, believe it or not. 2017. Some of them have alien skin, some of them have ape skin, some of them have man skin, some of them have human skin. They're all randomized. There's 10,000 of them, and they were all computer generated. And poof, they gave them away. 10,000 of them. Well, as time went on, because of how cool it was, these digital pictures, these profile photos, could be secured in a wallet, a token. Cool. And it was secure. It was the first time that we were able to create something. Well, it wasn't the first time, but they were celebrating this accomplishment in technology, where this could be something that you could actually value. A picture on the internet could be worth something. It was amazing. And so we started trading these things back, 50 cents here, $1 there, so on and so forth. NFTs. Yep. The cheapest CryptoPunk that you can buy right now is over $250,000 US. It's the cheapest one. So my girlfriend is a world-class artist. So she went onto Larva Labs' website and found the top 10 grossing NFTs. And she's mapping them out and actually hand painting them. And we have now, tonight, tomorrow, probably more now, we're just finishing up the website for her, where she's going to be selling these hand painted images. Like they're actually going to be something that someone can hang on their wall instead of just on someone's phone. And what we're going to do is that we're actually going to go to Larva Labs. They've got a chat in software called Discord. That's actually a good app to get, Discord. And in that app, there is a community labs. You log in there and you can see who are verified owners of CryptoPunks. Well, if the cheapest one is over $250,000 US, that list of 300 people will probably be interested in having one of these on their wall. Because what do these guys do? They code, stream, video games. So they would absolutely be tickled pink to put the COVID alien, which is just an image of a blue character with blue skin wearing a mask. They would love to have that on their wall and behind them as their camera is watching them play video. So we're going to go to that community and say, here are the first two. So the first one, Alien, sold for $12 million. The picture sold for $12 million. The next one that she did is 7523 out of the 10,000, number 7523. It went for, let me just double check here. Yep, larvalabs.com. You click on projects, and then you click on CryptoPunks, and you scroll down, and it's got the largest sales. The one that she just finished sold for 5. They sold it on February 28th for 8,000 Ethereum, which is the equivalent. 8,000 Ethereum on that day was worth 23.7 million US. Another one is an ape. I'm just going to go ahead and click on this. I think I can, yeah, I can do this. This ape, brown skin, blue bandana cap, $18 million. Yep. And oh, by the way, these aren't just, you know, beautiful graphics of an ape. No, you saw it. It is literally 24 squares by 24 squares square. So she actually got 24 inch by 24 inch masonite and penciled out the entire drawing and then painted in all the lines. That's what she did. So that's one of the things that we have going on. Now, what are we going to do with that kind of money? I'm going to be reinvesting it back into our community, even so much as when I go for, so for instance, Audrey Lynn is one of the entrepreneurs in our private group. Audrey Lynn does a special type of massage, and she incorporates like tuning forks and stuff like that to help align the body's energy. And she charges, you know, X amount of dollars. Well, when I go to see her, I can pay her 50% more than what she would normally be paid in Canadian dollars, and that helps. That helps the community out. I'm going to be helping set up an infrastructure for the farmer that I just met with last week Sunday. I met with a farmer. He actually values the decentralization of growing food. Okay, so his mentality is right in line with what we're working on. Yeah, it's powerful. You can actually, through his system there, you can actually buy a vertical tower for your portion of the farm. You can go ahead and buy it and put it in your house. The whole system with all the lights and everything is about $1,000. Or if you don't have the room, or if you don't have this, you know, maybe you can't, because some condos and some apartments they say you can't grow things. You can spend $750 and they'll manage the tower for you. And in exchange, all they ask is that they take half of the produce and be able to sell it at the farmer's market for compensation. But you get the other half of the tower for your free use. And by the way, that half of the tower pays for the tower within 20 months. So now you have self-sustained food growth, and that tower will feed 3 people their greens for the entire year. Yeah. Also with the same farm, you can do a share with chickens, or you can buy chickens from them if you want. But if you wanted them to manage the chickens for you, you can get 900 eggs a year with 3 chickens for the grand price of the 3 chickens and their feed for under $400. Go get, I dare you, go find yourself a dozen eggs that are farm fresh, bug fed, not grain fed or corn fed or shit fed chickens, free range, farm fresh eggs for less than 50 cents an egg. Yeah. Now we're talking. And they aren't interested in having a massive farm doing massive distributorship to all the supermarkets. That's not what they're about. They're about you having ownership within the farm on their land. And there are 7 farms all around the city. So if something's not convenient for you on the north side because you live on the south side, that's okay. They've got a farm for you to go pick up your stuff. And they're also going to be bringing those things forward to the farmers markets as well. And they're making their own farmers markets that are independent of the bullshit farmers markets that make you wear a mask. We're doing it. We're actually doing it. The next step is, let's leave this monetary system. So I gave you those tools. If you want some more help, send me a text, 780-266-4648. And just text me something along the lines of, I want some help setting up my bank. 780-266-4648. And again, just say something along the lines of, I want some help setting up my bank. And then I'm going to send you a link, and that link will be to my calendar. And you can pick out of my schedule what works for you. That way we're not having to go back and forth and be like, oh, what about Thursday at 1? Or, what about Wednesday morning at, 8? And you've used it, so you can testify that works pretty damn good. Yeah. If I missed the appointment, it might be because I just didn't check my phone that morning because I get busy. But then just text me. Like, hey, just check and make sure that we can still meet up, and then I'll jump on. Okay? I will be sending you a link to a new video conferencing system. I've left Zoom now altogether because it's a globalist corporation. And they are they're in with the World Economic Forum. And in fact, they're in on a lot of the pension funds for teachers. Yeah. So they actually, and we actually found through investigative journalism, thank you, we found a whole list, 3 pages long, of all the global corporations that were profiting from the lockdowns. Even though the teachers weren't working sometimes because they weren't going to work, they were working from home, or because schools were closed or whatever else, those corporations, all of them profited, and all of them benefited in one way, shape, or form, directly or indirectly, from lockdown policies. Zoom is one of them. Obviously Amazon, Walmart's on there and that stuff, but Zoom's on there as well. And yeah, so I don't support them anymore. And I found a video conferencing software that works just as good, arguably just as good, and it's better than what I was testing out before. And it's entirely encrypted on the blockchain. So they're using blockchain to do more than just handle currency transactions. They're actually using it to encrypt communications. They're using it to make sure that we have free speech, freedom of the press, freedom of association. And just recently, I met up with a gentleman who has for 20 years known about today, and he's working on a digital ID that's there to combat the digital ID that the globalists are wanting us to have. And it's actually competing with that. And right now in Africa, they're utilizing it.
So how would it be?
Not really competing, because once you have it, You don't need theirs. As long as you're working, it doesn't have to be Freedom Sword. We invite you, but it doesn't have to be us. We encourage other people to do their own thing. We don't want Freedom Sword to be much bigger than about 500 people, active people. You know, we might have 1,500 subscribers or something like that. 500 people is all we really need. And in fact, the farm, that's about all they can do right now.
So Freedom Sword is just local within Edmonton?
Yeah, I've got members all over the place, but the reason they joined was to learn how to do it for their local areas.
So do you have anybody doing it in Calgary?
I'm only connected with Jacqueline in Calgary right now. There are other people who are surrounding Calgary, but nobody's taking initiative and starting something of their own at this time. I have someone that started one in Drayton Valley. We've got a gentleman that is in Manitoba. And oh, you got friends in Calgary. I see. Okay.
Just so that they can get set up.
Yeah. Well, and in the meantime, they can join Freedom Sword. It would just be difficult for them to come to movie night.
Yeah, of course.
But I mean, they can still benefit from everything else that we're doing because it's all in there. Have you been in there yet? No. It's a social media platform, but it doesn't touch Facebook or anything like that. So we have free speech, and the people that built the software that we're running it on, they're awake, and they value free speech, and they have actually in their terms and conditions it says that we own that content, so they can't take it and use it for their own use.
What's the name of the new
Huddle. Yeah.
And also, do you have a list of those global corporations that benefit from the lockdown?
I do have them. Yeah.
I'm not aware of all of them.
Yeah, absolutely. I'll send you that PDF. Yeah, there's the PDF is extensive. It goes into a lot of detail. And it's also detailing a court case that is actually being put forward by the Teachers Association of Ontario because of that conflict of interest. Okay, how's everybody's brains?
Good, I'm trying to figure out what my next.
Chris Sky has his own.
I know, I saw that,
Yeah.
I've seen that.
Calls them the
Wolf
Wolf Pack. Wolf Pack. Yeah, and that's because he has wolfhounds as pets.
Oh.
Yeah. There's
Is
two-
that because you were talking about you were working in a business with him, is that what you were working on, like expanding it? Because I have seen it, because I do follow him.
Not that particular one. No, we're, and I just haven't had a chance to, but we're working on getting the video boards out and start our own propaganda campaigns so that we can actually, and it actually works really well in Kelowna. Apparently in Kelowna, you know, there's the mask mandate, but nobody pays attention to it anymore because of the impact that their propaganda has had. Yeah, on these video boards that they sell. Pretty cool. So the O2s downtown just got theirs installed. So they're actually showing 24 hours a day freedom propaganda. Yeah. Yeah.
Actually, it's funny you say that, because we ate, there's one on White Ave, but it's not O2, but it's owned by the same people.
Yeah.
And we actually talked to the owner.
Oh,
And
yeah.
He was, very interesting conversation.
Yeah. Cool. Volume went hella low again, eh? Oh my goodness. Well, we're done anyways. I apologize. I don't know why it went down. I just checked the volume and it says that it is still up 75%. So not sure what happened. Again, thank you everybody. When I talk quietly, it drops out completely. Okay, thank you. I'm going to be investing in a better microphone so that it makes it easier for me to do these kinds of presentations in the future. Just too many technical difficulties with that one that I have. So thank you so much, everybody. Everybody have a good night. And I look forward to chatting with all of you guys. If you have any questions, let me know. Follow me on social media if you want. I'm always dropping good stuff on media. And I'm getting pretty good at avoiding the algorithms that do the blocking, like the shadow banning and stuff like that. I kind of know now how to frame my words on that. All right, that's it. Signing off. Talk to you later.